from his studios in New York, it's time for Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Here's your host, Dan Tortora.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. It's always an honor and a privilege to be hanging out with you on the airwaves of Wake Up Call every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We are here on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage where the MixLR feed is embedded. You can also listen directly from anywhere in the world for free by going to MixLR, which stands for Mix Live Radio, mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. At this part of the show, I'm very happy to have on for the first time ever Tim Marshall, assistant coach of the Syracuse Stallions. The Syracuse Stallions, as you know, have been covered here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora since well before the season began, all the way through, and where we currently stand right now. And I had the blessing and the privilege of meeting Tim Marshall within the past couple weeks, and the team has obviously had tremendous success with him and Coach Dortis at the helm of this thing. So without further ado, I welcome him on to Wake Up Call for the first time. Tim, how you doing today?
Good. Thanks, Dan, for having me on today.
Absolutely. And Tim, I want to kind of start at square one. What brought you to this team? What made this fit with the Syracuse Stallions happen for you?
Well, you know, I've coached at every level, from high school, college, modified, AAU, and the one thing that hadn't happened is to have an opportunity to coach some, quality players in a professional line. So I'm very close, good friends with Coach Dortis, and we talked about it, and also Mike threw it out there. I know Mike, the owner, also, and it just seemed to be a great fit because it was a new challenge that I hadn't experienced before.
And what can you say about Mike Sugamosto, the president of the team, just, what he said to you about joining this staff and just what your thoughts are on working with Mike?
Well, I think first off is, it was something new. It had been tried before in the Syracuse area and might not have had as much success as they had wanted. And, Mike took it over and was very convincing. I've known him through the basketball arena from that, and he just does a fantastic job not only promoting it, but also getting some great players involved that we can, have the ability to coach. And, at this level, it's really tweaking their game versus really coaching, because they're very accomplished players as they stand. So, we've got some great role players that really embrace that and do the things that they need to, and they show up ready to compete every week.
And when you look at this team, the Syracuse Stallions team, speaking with assistant coach live on Wake Up Call, Tim Marshall, this morning. Tim, what about this team and this environment and this culture is different to you? What made you kind of get a sense that this team was going to make it and it was going to be a reality where other things have tried and not come through?
I just think the overall community support has really generated some great enthusiasm. The players that are on the team, they come ready to practice. They're willing to learn. We've got some great guys that come off the bench as role that have worked their way into, a starting role due to injuries and things. And it's just a great atmosphere. There's no finger pointing. And the biggest one that I really enjoy is, regardless if you're up 10 or down 15, there's no quit. And there's always that willingness to do whatever extra you have to win, and they're so competitive, not only against the opponents but with each other. So it's a great group of young men to be around and try to win and continue to be successful and get better each week. And we kind of got a saying, good, better, best is what we try to strive for.
And when you look at what the team has done up to this point, I mean, you started off the season 20-0. I mean, that's unheard of for an inaugural season, for an expansion team, no matter what sport it is, where you're seeing it, whether they're on the field or on the court or whatever it may be. You never see an expansion team start off 20-0. Just what you can say about that run that you had to start off the season right out of the gate.
Well, I'd like to say that it's all due to Coach Dortis and myself, but I'd be lying. These guys, they got a sense of pride, and they just drive to be the best and to be part of this team. We were 20-0, and then we took a blemish, and at this time of the season, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing for us, because I think it refocused us a bit. And it got that hunger back, because these guys are very hunger driven with wanting to win and compete. And, being undefeated wasn't really the goal. The goal was to get to St. Louis, and I think we've put ourselves in a great position to be at the top. You always have that target on your back. And I think this relieves some of that stress, because now we can get back to the business at hand, and that's continue to win and move forward to get to St. Louis and, try to get that chip at the end of the season.
Speaking here with Syracuse Stallions assistant coach Tim Marshall. Tim, you had said something that Mike Sugamosto, the president of the team, had said to me, as well as Lloyd Parkman after his triple-double against Elmira this past weekend. All of you have echoed the sentiments. The goal was never to go undefeated. The goal is to win a championship. So just what you can say about that. I mean, it was nice to start out 20-0, but you've all stated the fact of, it would have been nice to not lose a game, but that's secondary to what we're trying to do, and what we're trying to do is win a championship.
Yeah, and to that point about Lloyd, I mean, here's a young man that I'll say was a role player for us, and then forced into a starting role the last couple of games due to injuries. And it's a different mentality that you have to go in with. As I spoke to him prior to the game on Sunday, you come in, off the bench, you're that spitfire, you're that energy button that we need to get the guys going, to get, make some plays. I mean, he does a lot of the things for the team that, don't show up in the stats, such as drawing the offensive charge, boxing out, guys that are 5, 6, 7 inches bigger than him and battling on the boards, getting the loose balls, and, things that, as a coach you see and appreciate. But, as a fan, you go right to the stat line and say, well, what did he do? Well, he obviously stuffed the stats this week, in the game on Sunday, which we were all so proud of him for. So, it's a great transition, and, we have a saying that, next man up. If somebody's not doing it, and, we've got 13 guys on the roster that just all come ready to play, whether it be 2 minutes or, 48 minutes, whatever we need out of them that night.
And when you see somebody like Lloyd Parkman be able to do that, like you said, he was a role player that just pushed his way to get to where he was and pushed his way to get his minutes on this team this season for the Stallions. To have a triple-double, and it's his first ever in his career of any level of any basketball he's ever played. He said, the team was kind of railing around him, and they kind of knew with a few minutes to go that, they wanted to get this for him. Just what you can say about that experience and being able to celebrate that with the young man, Lloyd Parkman.
Well, and it is great. You would think you'd have a lot of egos on the team, and I really haven't seen any at all throughout the whole process. They're all pulling for each other. They're all moving in the same direction, which, when you've got so many accomplished athletes, on one team, what we look for is, when Coach and I go into the games, I can't say we don't get overly concerned, because we know somebody's going to step up. And, Lloyd's one of those guys who just comes day in, day out, brings his hard hat, his lunchbox, and just gets to work, for the team. He's an emotional leader on the team, brings us out of the huddles. He's always so positive. I can't honestly say, I've heard anything negative out of him. And, for him to accomplish that the other night was just, fantastic for him, his family, his pride, for Rome, New York, where he hails from. It's just an awesome feeling, and it just kind of shows the pride that each and every one of these players have, regardless of their athleticism or their the abilities. So it's just everybody pulls together. It's great to be around the whole personality of the team.
Now, Mike Sugamosto, the president of the team, has written in a question for you, Tim, here live on the radio. He said, ask Tim about my pacing and blood pressure during games.
Well, if you know Mike, and I've got pretty good peripheral vision, so I try to scan the audience, and he sits at about a 45-degree angle from the court, where he keeps the stats and stuff because he doesn't want to be over biased. But there was a point where I turned and looked, and his face was getting red, and I thought we might have to do CPR or something because he is a nervous sort at times, and we just kind of joke about that, but no, he's a great support mechanism, not only for the players but for the staff, and we all pull together and do what we need to, regardless of what our title says on a piece of paper. I mean, it's just a great organization to be part of, affiliated with, and I truly believe we're going to have some great success not only this year but going forward, because once you're successful, everybody wants to be around it, and it's just he does a great job, and he's got a great group of folks that they're involved with him. Coach Dortis and I have the easy job. We go and we coach for 48 minutes. There's a lot of things that go in the back end that you've got to do, from setup to getting players there on time. Because they all go through their routine of stretching and getting ready. So he does a fantastic job, and hopefully we can get him to calm down. But we were going to get a blood cuff so we could watch his blood pressure go up and down during the game and kind of post it on our phone so we could get a little laugh out of him. So.
Well, what I think you should do is, how they have the applause meter at some of the stadiums? I think we should have a blood pressure meter for Mike Sugamoso that everybody gets to watch.
Absolutely, that would be fantastic, because because there's things that Pete and I can do during the game to bring that blood pressure up a little bit more, so which we wouldn't be averse to doing.
Well, and that's the thing, is that the applause meter you want to go up, but the Sugamoso meter you want to go down.
Yeah, we don't want anything happening to him. So.
Yeah. What can you say about working with Mike and working with Coach Dortis as well, and just what and obviously Josh Winans and everybody that's around kind of the front office and the coaching staff? What's life been like with that?
I would say it's been open and honest, sometimes brutally honest, which in a lot of businesses today, especially, I'm in sales, so, you have to always watch what you say sometimes. But with our group, we constantly we're honest with each other and what our thoughts are. And we each have a say, and our say isn't just ignored, it's considered. And, we all take a part in making the decisions. As basketball is a quick game, you've got to make some decisions quickly, or you kind of let it ride to see what happens. And I think we've got a good mix of calmness on the bench. Too, we've got a cool hand, leading the ship with Pete, and then also Mike's got that cool hand from a management perspective. I've got the privilege to sit back and make recommendations and what I see. So, we've all been around the game long enough where, Pete is 1 or 2 days older than me, but not by much. So we've got a lot of rich history of basketball knowledge. So it really helps us get through some of those tough moments. The thing with these guys is we don't panic as a staff, and they in turn don't panic during a game. We did take that one blemish, but I think that really is going to help us and refocus us to continue to drive to get that chip at the end of the year.
And to be in that position to obviously to go down to Binghamton, lose 150 to 115. What would you attribute that to? I mean, I know the team has said sometimes they might lag a little bit, and Mike and I have spoken about maybe they don't keep their foot on the gas 100% of the time. Was it one of those moments to you? Was it just the fact that the team maybe wasn't keeping their foot on the throttle, or what was it in your opinion?
I think it was a combination. So, that was the fourth time we played them. They made some great adjustments. Can't take anything away from them. A little disappointed you mentioned the final score, but, I'll let you off on that one. I still have it burned in my forehead. But, it just, I think there was a combination. They came out, played on fire, give them all the credit, to the players and their staff. They really got after us. We didn't do some of the things we normally do. I think sometimes you need a good, slap in the face to get you back to center and do the things that are, most important. And, after the game, I won't share the sentiment other than, everybody was, all right, this isn't us. This is not what we do. We need to go back to being the Syracuse Stallions and doing what we do, and that's winning and getting after it and being competitive. It was, you just chalk it up to as one of those games.
So you bounce back from that. You go up against Elmira. You defeat them by 50+. Just what you saw out of the team in the locker room after the loss to Binghamton, just how they reacted to it and just how they went forward after that game.
Well, the one thing is, we try to tell them, and they've heard this over and over probably through their whole basketball life, is don't get too high on a win, don't get too low on a loss. Try to stay in the middle of the road and keep moving forward. I think they're all accomplished enough and been around the game long enough as players that, one loss doesn't define you, but what defines you is how you react the next day when you come out to play. And I think they echoed their sentiments pretty loud by going out, and putting up some good points, getting after it defensively, not wallowing in their sorrow because they lost. Poor me. I think they said, BS, let's go back to what we do well, and winning's what we do well, and they were all behind each other, nobody pointing fingers at the loss, just we win as a team, we lose as a team, and we fortunately haven't lost that much, so it was a different experience for us, but it was one that I think as a team brought us back closer to each other, and as we told them, let's get better next week for practice, and let's get 2 more W's next weekend, but we'll take them one at a time.
Speaking here with Tim Marshall, assistant coach of the Syracuse Stallions. Tim, to be like you said, I mean, the team has told me throughout the season that obviously the culture has been good because the team's been winning, and so it's easy to feel good about each other when you're winning. How does the culture feel now that you've won 21 of 22 games? There's nothing to slouch about by any stretch of the imagination, but did the culture change at all? Did it wake some guys up? Did it dip down and then rise back up? What can you say about the culture after the loss?
I don't know if the culture changed, other than it was a blip on the screen. You look at other great teams that potentially have gone undefeated and things of that nature in different levels. And I don't know as if it's one of the things is we've got some great players. They've got great attitudes. I don't think one loss they would allow to define them. But again, I think they'd allow it to make them stronger. I mean, I think the camaraderie, we have a group text going back and forth that, you didn't see any fingers pointing. It was like, okay, let's get better tomorrow. Let's get back on track, and one of the things I said before the game against Elmira, let's start a new streak. Let's start that new streak of, continue to win and go forward and, right in through to St. Louis. So, I think we've positioned ourselves to be in a very positive position to, get to the St. Louis, and at that point you've got all great teams, and see where the chips fall, and hopefully you're successful and everybody comes ready to play, and everybody's healthy. You can't determine that but I think we're in a great position, and we got some great ownership, and I can speak for our head coach, a great head coach, and fortunately I bring some additional value to it, and I think we're doing some great things.
So as you move forward here, kind of looking at where to go from here. I mean, the team has brought on some guys. Dane Miller has come onto the team for a short time, and Kevin Douglas is there now, and David Hay has joined. Just what you could say about some of these moves that have been made, and how the team has kind of figured out their place. Because I know George Graham went from a third-string guy to a second-string guy to a starter. I know Wanton's gone down. Mickey Davis, obviously, with a foot injury. So, Lloyd Parkman has stepped up, and George Graham has stepped up, and B. Coates and Chris Gilks and Dajuan Coleman has done what he's done, and Jamel Stanley we know could take over a game, and obviously Ryan Caldwell's done a lot recently, and Ryan McCarthy's there for you. What can you say about, the makeup of this team, and Nick Pirioli, who he wears my number, and I told him if you ever need me to suit up, he's going to have to give it up. But What has this team kind of, how it's comprised itself over the season so far? What's it been like to coach that and to bring on some of these guys and obviously navigate through some injury?
It's been relatively easy, and I don't mean only because we've been winning, but because every guy you grab to put in the game, we set the expectation for him, what we expect out of him. I'll use Ryan Aldwell as an example. A kid who has steadily come on as the season's grown, put him into opportunities, some difficult ones and some easier ones, to where he can be successful. And, I think of a late, before he goes in, I kind of give him a number of how many points I think he should have and how many rebounds. And, I challenge him, as we challenge all the players, regardless of whether they're a starter or a role player, because I feel we've got, 13 starters on the team, which is a nice thing to have, where most teams can go 7, 8 maybe. I truly believe we can go the entire team. So it gives you gives you a sense of ease, confidence that, hey, if I call your number, this is what my expectation is. Cameron Dobbs comes in and knocks down, deep threes, and his quick gets to the glass. It's almost like a microwave, instant offense, and, Jamal, I don't know what else you can say about the guy. He just comes in can take over game, as you said. They're all conscientious where they want to win. They want to compete. They want to compete, for each other. Nobody wants to come off the floor, but when they do, they're all congratulating each other, regardless if they did their job or didn't, and someone's filling in for them. But it's nice to have a different guy every night, because if you're the opponent, who do you prep for? Who do you get ready to stop when we've got so many weapons offensively, and defensively we can get up and down the floor quite well. So
that coming from Tim Marshall here, assistant coach of the Syracuse Stallions. 21-1 with 2 games to go. Rock City at home, and then on the road to finish off this weekend and then head into the postseason. Tim, we do something on Tuesday's show called The Ingredients to Success. It's proudly presented by Utica Pizza Company, and it's a Utica thing. Utica Pizza Company is on 628 South Main Street, North Syracuse, New York. It is the home of the wake-up call pizza, Chicken Riggy. Before I go any farther than that, have you ever had Chicken Riggies, Tim, and have you ever had Chicken Riggy pizza?
I've had Chicken Riggies and love it. The hotter the better, because I like to get a nice sweat on my forehead. But I've never had it on pizza.
So you need to go over to Utica Pizza Company and get yourself it's the wake up call #1 pick. It's the Chicken Riggy pizza. It's that kick that you want on a pizza. So you're gonna have to try it out. Gonna have to make it happen.
Will.
So Utica Pizza Company, and it's a Utica thing, do the Ingredients to Success every single Tuesday. I'd love for you to be a part of this by giving your ingredients to success as the Stallions continue on. So what are the ingredients to success here, besides, obviously winning, but for the rest of the season here and into the postseason, your ingredients to success that you'd like the guys to know?
I think to continue our success is one, we've got to compete at a high level, of course. 2, we've got to continue to keep our confidence level also high, which I don't see a problem with at all. The biggest thing I see, though, is we need to make sure that our role players are mentally and physically ready to fill the spot, to whenever they're called on. Because, think about it. You might not get called on for the first 12, 14, 16 minutes, and now you're expected to go in and perform, which is a very difficult task in itself, because now you're not warm, you've cooled down a little bit. So, I think for us to be and continue our success is we need those role players to, one, increase their role, give us even more minutes and better, results. And I think, to continue to have the family mentality that we've currently had throughout the season at this point, and continue to drive forward for our goal and put all our personal goals aside, because, as a team, if we meet those, I believe our personal goals will be met also.
That coming from Tim Marshall as the team steps forward. Buy your tickets to the Syracuse Stallions' final regular season home game by going to SyracuseStallions.com. Just what you want to say to the community in closing here, Tim, and just what the community's meant to you in this first season with the Stallions.
Yeah, I just appreciate all their support. The patronage, and also showing up, celebrating our success, and making it important, for these young men that, are out there, still living the dream, still getting after it. And I'm just, very fortunate to be part of that, and, appreciate all they do.
That coming from Tim Marshall. Tim, I know it's your first time on the show, but would love to have you back and definitely appreciate you taking some time today.
Sure, not a problem. Anytime, just let me know, and I appreciate you putting me on today.
Absolutely. Well, God bless moving forward, and I'll see you on Saturday.
Thank you.
Take care. That coming from Tim Marshall one more time. So, and I appreciate it very much. So thank you to Tim for being a part of the broadcast and joining me here this morning. I had the opportunity to, I was at a bunch of games, but had not formally met Tim, and I just kind of went over to him and shook his hand and congratulated him. We talked for a little bit. It was actually after I shot one of the specials that we're doing with the Syracuse Stallions, and I just kind of came out, and it was before the game, and I shook his hand and introduced myself. We were talking and whatnot, and then I got to see him this past weekend after the game. So, nothing but respect for, Coach Dortis and Coach Marshall, and obviously this team, and Mike Sugamosto and Josh Winans, and, everybody, like I said, the Q City dancers, the concessions, everybody that's involved with this, and everyone that's put blood, sweat, and tears, and money, and time, and everything into this to make the Syracuse Stallions a reality. Buy your tickets to the final regular season home game of this inaugural season on SyracuseStallions.com. Playing Rock City. Rochester is no slouch, and the Stallions get everybody's best game, folks. This is a team that people are gunning for. They're 21-1, and they're heading toward the postseason. They want to do it at 23-1, and guess what? Doing it with your help is the best way to do it. So make sure you buy your tickets now to support the Syracuse Stallions on SyracuseStallions.com. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is a proud supporter of the Syracuse Stallions, and you can find them on WakeUpCallDT.com. You will find their logo. You can click on there, and that will take you straight to SyracuseStallions.com. You can also find other pieces on WakeUpCallDT.com by clicking on any of the archive tabs, whether it be Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, the RSS feed, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube. Any of those that you click on, it will take you to our archive of Wake Up Call shows. You'll see the Syracuse Stallions logo, and you can listen in to the Stallions there. We've had Ryan Caldwell and Jamel Stanley and Dajuan Coleman on the show, and Lloyd Parkman and Cam Dobbs and now Tim Marshall and so on and so forth. Coach Dortis will be coming up this week. And Mike Sugamosto, of course. George Graham. So many different players have been on the broadcast, and I'm excited. David Hay has also been on our broadcast as well, and Chris Gilk. So I'm very excited about sharing all of these with you. You can check them out on the archive on wakeupcalldt.com. Have yourselves a great day in the meantime. Find Wake Up Call on Facebook. Our goal was to get to 1,500 likes. Then all of a sudden we passed that, and quickly we're going towards 1,600. I asked you at the beginning of the week, let's pass 1,600. We did it last night. So ask and you shall receive. God is great, and so are you. Thank you for your support. 1,600 plus likes now on there. We're about to hit 2,200 on Twitter, and we have over 600 on Instagram, which we just started very recently. So thank you to all your support, and it's not the quantity, it's the quality. So it's not just that we have the 1,600 or the 2,000 or the 600, whatever. It's the fact that you interact with us, that you come out to the shows, that you see me at live events, that you play trivia, and you go to Chick-fil-A and see us with CNS, and you go to the Wildcat and see us with West Jenny, and you go to Home Team Pub and see the Alan Griffin Hour, and you see the Liverpool Athletics, and that you come out to the PressRoom Pub and see Coach Q and our pregame show that we do for football with Rob Drummond, and that you come to, our trivia events every Tuesday at 7 o'clock, including today. So thank you for your support. Thank you for your love. Thank you for watching, listening, reading, all that you're doing. I appreciate it so very much. And with that being said, Facebook's at WakeUpCallDT, Twitter's at CallDT, Instagram's at WakeUpCall_DT, YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. And the articles are all on wakeupcalldt.com on the articles page. So you have all that you need. And I thank you so much. I want to thank my guest once again, Tim Marshall, assistant coach of the Syracuse Stallions. I want to put out a special thank you to Chick-fil-A Cicero, Jim Sikowski, and the entire team over there. Everything went off without a hitch, as always. And I want to thank CNS. I want to thank Tim Bednarski, the athletics director. I want to thank CNS for what they did for these kids, for the signing day special. And I want to thank every single one of these young men and women, Emily Dembowski, for joining the show, as well as Maria Marullo, Morgan Seichin, Jeremiah Willis, Bryant Perdomo, and Nathan Poirier for joining me at Chick-fil-A and being here this morning on the broadcast, and to CNS Athletics and the North Stars. God bless and Godspeed for each and every single one of you. On tomorrow's broadcast, it is jam-packed awesome, folks. We're going to have a lot of different things coming up for you, and I'm ecstatic for you to be listening in. Enrico Mastriani is going to be joining me. They just found out that they're going to be in the ECAC tournament, so there's more life for Marywood men's basketball, and he'll be joining me at 9:15 a.m. tomorrow morning to speak on that from my alma mater of Marywood University. So he will be joining the show, and we will also have a bunch of other special things going on in tomorrow's broadcast. So very excited about this. So you just got to follow me to tomorrow's show. We're also going to have Coach Dortis of the Syracuse Stallions. So make sure you keep it locked right here every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time to mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as wakeupcalldt.com. I appreciate it. I thank you. And God bless to each and every single one of you. Have a great day. And remember, your glass is always half full. And if it's not, fill it up and make it that way. I'll talk to you soon.